Russell, you said in a quote you hired the wrong people at Emoov. Why did you say that?
One of the only quotes that I've really taken issue with actually over the last few weeks. That was part of a 20-minute long telephone interview with the Mail on Sunday, where the Mail on Sunday journalist said to me, a bit like you have really, what could you have done differently? And of course I answered insofar as some of the things I think I could have done differently. And they then asked me, well, what about people? Ever hired the wrong people? And of course I said, well, yeah, we've all hired the wrong people here and there. Okay. Take that on its own,
yes,
and it has a completely different meaning from what it was intended to say. Now, have I hired people that have left the business because we've asked them to? Yes, of course. And of course, I'm not going to mention
that.
Yeah, of course. I'm not going to mention any names specifically, but did we hire loads of people that stayed with us forever and we never had to fire anyone and no one resigned? Well, don't be bloody naive. Of course not. But what it doesn't mean is that I believe that the staff that were in the business were either to blame for the demise of the business, they weren't, or that somehow they were deficient.
Were you to blame?
Of course I am. I'm the CEO. Yeah. So I have to take the can. Look, there was a board behind me, and I've got to say there were many instances where the board and I disagreed, and it was put your hand up, and I was the only one with my hand up. But no, I take and have to take and do take ultimate responsibility. I was the leader of the business. We didn't have a chairman in the business, so I was.
Yes, you mentioned that in that great Graham Locke film. I thought it was a fantastic interview, if you don't mind me saying.
We think he's better than you at doing this.
Well, of course he's better than you.
Graham, I'm kidding. Graham never said that.
No. He's good friends. So, yeah. What do you think a chairman could have done to the business?
Well, I'm not sure he would have saved it particularly. He would have helped with the fundraising. He would have helped with the investor relations. So it would have taken some weight off my shoulders, I suppose. But mainly, and look, I don't mean this with any criticism. I had some brilliant shareholders. Simon Murdoch from episode 1. Gabby Salem from Walton Asset Management. I mean, those two guys were just incredibly supportive, not just with money, but with time, advice, and so on. So, I'm not going to sit here and criticise them. But another lesson, one of the lessons from the whole Emoov debacle was that if you've got a board where 4 of your 6 board members are big shareholders, they do tend to, and understandably, completely naturally, they tend to make decisions based on their shareholding rather than necessarily as default directors of the business. And I'm not trying to suggest, never let it be said I'm saying that they didn't carry out their fiduciary duty. They did. Simon Murdoch and Gabby were very careful to make sure that they did carry out their fiduciary duty. But it's almost a conflict.
Not sway, yeah, conflict. Yes, because
it's a bit of a conflict. Yeah. If you're a public limited business, a PLC, you tend not to have lots of people on your board that own 10, 15, 20% of the business because, of course, they make decisions based on that shareholding. So I think the chairman would have helped me perhaps add people to the board that were.
Was it not suggested you got one earlier, or?
Yes, but it was never progressed. I interviewed plenty. I mean, there were lots of very big hitting potential chairmen that have been directors of public limited businesses that I saw and courted. But unfortunately, the last year, Emoov had a deal to do, which obviously consumed a lot of time, and then all sorts of shenanigans in terms of trying to keep a head above water in the last few months. So it was pushed to the back of the pile in terms of priorities. And I think the other thing that a chairman will do, and I suppose it speaks to what I've just said in terms of the independence of board members, or there should be an independence of board members, is that there were a couple of times where I wanted to do different things with Emoov. I wanted to SaaS, the technology platform, for instance. So we'd done a deal with a major estate agency business, actually, where we tested the concept of selling our technology to that business, and that we could then roll that technology out to the industry. There were times when I wanted to explore selling our expertise in technology internationally, because we had a whole bunch of approaches from Australia, South America, South Africa, and so on. And there were, in the later few weeks, the last couple of board meetings, I'd made suggestions around pivoting to become a full fee agent, if you want to call it that, whereby we would stop charging 800 quid and be a different type of business. Those 3 examples were examples where the board did not want to do those things, and I would be completely.
But you were the estate agent?
Yeah, but they were the investor, so that they hold the purse strings. They also, again, understandably, and I mean this with no criticism, they invest in a business back in 2015 that is a disruptive real estate technology business. Then what you start to say to them is...
Because you were selling, if you look at all the blurb you were doing, it was all, the world is going to change in a state agency. It's going to change, and this is the way forward. And jump on my bandwagon, and I'll make you lots of money.
But from an investor perspective, investors like tech businesses. So whether it's Just Eat or whether it's Deliveroo or whether it's hotels.com, whatever, technology businesses have a certain kudos in terms of the multiple of their revenue that then derives their valuation. If you're not a technology business, you don't get that same multiple. So you might get 10x revenue, maybe not now, but you would have got a year ago 10x revenue as a tech business, maybe 4 or 5 times EBITDA as a traditional business. So of course, as an investor, you want everything to have a tech flavour because of course it makes it worth more money.
Because it's interesting, I won't mention his name, but someone very senior in the industry said that Purple Bricks got all the Purple Bricks and their ilk, when they did the IPO, were telling the city what they wanted to hear.
Yeah, but I think everyone does that with their IPO, don't they? I mean, it's your document, your submission document. Of course, look, you're selling yourself to investors, both institutional and retail. So, look, I mean,
you went down the crowdfunding approach. Yeah. Do you think that's the way forward?
We crowdfunded twice, and we did it because it's quicker. So it takes generally 3 months from start to finish. Whereas, in my experience, going out trying to do deals with VCs and private equity and high net worths, it can take 6 months. By the time you found someone as a consequence of all the doors you've knocked on, to actually get to terms, do the deal. I mean, it's like the Tepelo deal. We signed that in February, didn't complete until June, as an example. So it was quicker. But also as a consumer business, crowdfunding is great when it comes to using the crowdfunding as a marketing exercise as well as an investment exercise. So you get out there to all of, in our case, Crowdcube's investors. Investors become advocates, they become customers, customers become investors. So that's why.
Interesting. Thank you very much.